That's so impressive to me. It just makes so much sense to me. Love that. I love it every time. I don't know why. That's impressive to me.
Quando vivo solo sueno horizonte fatto de palabras. En la sombra entre luces todas negras para mi mirada. Si tú no estás junto aquí, por ti volaré. Es para delegaré. El fin de trayecto es tú. Para vivirlo los dos por ti. Volaré.
In this video, I want to go over a couple things about this new rifle. It is just a few months old. They came out this thing September of last year, so it's kind of unknown. But what's cool is that you guys actually know the company who makes this, Gibbs Arms, not because of their rifles, but because of the M-LOK. This is the same company who invented M-LOK and then sold it to Magpul. So those same people who innovated this now have an entire completed rifle. One of the key features on this thing is actually the side charging handle. That's what this video is kind of about. It is mind-boggling to me that not every single AR-15 has a side charging handle. So we're going to be covering this little thing right here and why a side charging handle is so important on your AR-15s, but also what they've done a little bit differently to make this thing so accurate and so fun to shoot. Love how often I see their logo. It's like they're proud of that. When you open it up in the box, you get very basic things. You get one magazine lancer, you get your lock. This is great. You get a little business card with a QR code. So if you need to look up the manual, use your phone, pull it up that way. And then the gun. And this thing out of the box, I love how sleek it is. It looks sexy. Like the first thing that kind of comes to mind to me is almost like a Geisley. Like it doesn't look rugged, this looks smooth, it feels smooth. And I love their logo that they put on almost everything. Look at this. I like it when a gun puts their logo everywhere. They're proud. They're proud of what they make. So we're gonna go ahead and take this thing out. We're gonna shoot some long range with it first. And by long range, I mean 100 yards. That's what we're doing today. We're gonna go do a 100-yard accuracy test right out the gate. I'm not even gonna lube it up. I know you should. I know you should probably clean the barrel, clean the bore, whatever you guys do for your routines. I'm not. I want to show you guys what it can shoot out of the box without touching it at all. That's important to me. And I think a lot of you guys don't do anything to your rifles out of the box. So this is going to be for the average guys like me. I haven't even done it yet, and I'm already really excited that I'm not having to like hit my face and eat a charging handle. I can just play with it over here. First few shots for accuracy at 100 yards. These are just normal 55 grain 223 from a company called Unlimited Ammo. If you guys know the channel, you know that they make really awesome rounds, really accurate rounds. So we're gonna shoot some out of this guy and see what we can do on paper today. It feels so smooth internally. You don't have that clunking. You don't have like the weird grimy feeling to it, you know? It feels like I'm shooting like a Geisley, like a Geisley completed rifle. That's my first thoughts of it. I love clearing it with that side charger, dude. It just makes so much sense to me. I don't know why other guns don't do this. These next 3 rounds, 77 grain, boat tail hollow points, traveling 2750. But what I've realized is that some guns, their barrel and kind of how they're made, they favor heavier rounds for accuracy, but they just function better with lighter weight rounds. I don't know what we're going to see here. I'm hoping that it shoots accurate with both the 55 grains and the 77s. We're going to find out right now. I am really impressed with this. I think, like I said before, I think there are guns that for the barrel harmonics of the gun, the vibrations of it, they just like certain weight. And it feels like this thing can do both the heavier 77 and the lighter 55. But honestly, I'm having more consistent groupings with the 55. And that's good news because when you go buy bulk ammo or surplus or military, most of it is 55 grain. Really easily these Blitz Kings by Unlimited Ammo, it's shooting sometimes, I mean, half-inch groups almost. This last one, I mean, they're just on top of each other. There's a lot of consistency there. So 55 Blitz Kings. Also, not a lot of gas blowback. A little bit, a hint of it, but not a lot. I'm impressed. What I like is you can run it unsuppressed or suppressed without having to change anything, and it functioned perfectly and even held back the bolt. Like for me, I have so many AR-15s, and although this is an AR-15, it doesn't feel like an AR-15. It does feel a little bit futuristic. It feels like it's like a stormtrooping blaster type of a thing from like space. Like. And what's crazy is that this is a company, like they do aerospace engineering. Like they have $1 million machines, and they create spaceships basically. It's like rocket science, but in a gun now. I was impressed with this. I'm really impressed with kind of right now is that whenever I'm shooting with this AR5, this is not the best suppressor out there. I usually have a lot of gas blowback. When I'm using this thing in my Barrett AR-15 or in my SCAR, I have a lot of gas blowback with this suppressor. Now, I almost had none. I got a whiff of it once, not a bad one. Sometimes if you guys know, if you run suppressed, you have all that gas kind of come back into your eyes, like underneath your glasses, kind of stings your eyes. I didn't have that at all. And there's a huge reason for that. And the biggest reason is because this is a side charging AR-15, and you do not have that rear, that charging handle with like the gaps and stuff in there. So normally when you have a rear charging handle that comes in from the rear, you have a lot of gaps in there that allow a lot of gas to kind of come blow back. Obviously the gas is supposed to be kind of cycled out through this. You don't always have that. Sometimes when you don't have a very high quality gun and you're running it suppressed, you get a lot of gas blowback in your face. Not going to kill you, but it does suck, especially in your eyes. On this rifle, you're not using a rear charging handle, you're using this side one. And the cool thing I just learned about, normally a rear charging handle will actually engage at the same exact spot that it does on this rifle, just a little bit differently. You would actually have this inside of your upper receiver and you pull back the whole bolt like that. With this, you're using your side charging handle and it's actually engaging in the same exact spot right there. What this means is you can actually use different brand bolts inside of your upper. You just have to change out the cam pin. You guys can buy these things separate on any bolt that you want and replace it. And I think if you buy just the upper, it comes with that cam pin, and so you can run it with whatever bolt you want. This bolt, it seems to work well with this rifle. I am really impressed with the accuracy, as you guys saw. But at some point, I'll probably upgrade this to a little bit higher end bolt, but I'll keep that cam pin, and that way I can use the same side charging system in the same upper, just with a different bolt carrier group. For that, you still have this little door in the back. This little door closes. You have to have a door there, that way you can put your bolt carrier group in. You will close this door right there, and that's how easy it is. Now, with that door being closed, there's probably a little bit of gas that could probably seep out maybe. I'm not a scientist, but I didn't feel it at all. That's what I care about. Not care about the exact amount that's still seeping through. I care about what I can feel on my face. We're gonna have Reese shoot this thing now at 100 yards and see what he can do as a beginner, entry-level prone sniper shooter. We're gonna do 3 more shots, 77 grain. That's so impressive to me. I can't believe what just happened. Like, that's a clover leaf at 100 yards suppressed with an AR-15. You cannot do that with most guns out of the box dry. You can't do that with most bolt guns, dude. I'm not a good shooter. I think this makes me a good shooter. And the more rounds we've shot through it, the more accurate it's become. That's what's wild to me. I will say this is by far, hands down, the most accurate AR-15 that I think I've ever shot and definitely ever owned. And I own a lot of guns. There is something how they do this. I don't know if it's the barrel, if it's the internals with the bolt, maybe it's the side charging handle, who knows what it is, but something about this gun has just made it so accurate. And as you guys can see, I'm shooting this thing at 100 yards, but I shot it on paper. I did a lot of different groupings, all shooting the unlimited ammo. All of it's 223. We had some 55 grain Blitz Kings. We have some 77 grain hollow points, boat-tailed hollow points. And I want to show you guys what this looks like, because again, I am so impressed. For me, as an average shooter, maybe slightly above average, I would say that If I can get a AR-15 to shoot maybe an inch, inch and a half groups consistently, I'm impressed. I'm happy with that, especially with the optic I was using. I was using a 2.5 by 20 Night Force. So nothing crazy, but it's definitely got enough zoom power to I can kind of see my bullet holes, and it can be pretty accurate that way. But I want to show you guys what I was doing. The first few shots I was taking, I was just trying to get on target because I was using that same optic for a different gun. I do want to clarify this. A lot of guys ask this all the time. I have a 30 MOA scope rings. It's canted offset. So the scope is angled a lot further down or a lot further up. In this case, it's down. That way when you're shooting long range, you can dial it down and stretch out a little bit further. So with that specific optic in those scope rings or the mounts, I could not hit my target exactly. No matter what I was doing, I was going to be about, I don't know, 4 inches higher than the target. So as I am showing you guys, I was aiming here, I'm always going to be hitting my shots about 4 inches higher. So don't worry about where my impact was, we're only worrying about the group sizing here. I would say even with the bulk ammo, just normal bulk ammo, like nothing special about it. I think they were 55 grain. Even that, I was shooting pretty good groups. And I'll show you guys this here in a second. With that, oh man, let's see, a 4-shot group. It was about 1.2 inches with bulk ammo. That was like my cold bore shot and like the next 3 shots in a row. Super impressed with that. So this was the ammo that I was shooting. I was doing these 77 grain hollow point boat tails, and then I was doing these Blitz Kings 55 grains. Now, I think you'll probably hear me say at some point, sometimes specific barrels like different rounds. So I kind of wanted to go super heavy, super light to kind of see what would happen here. And I did mark all these. This was my second grouping of the day, like my second new fresh paper target of the day. And I was so impressed with this. I think I started off on the far left-hand side. These are the 77 grains. This is just over an inch. Again, this is like my 7th, 8th, and 9th shot of the day, just over an inch. And depending on how you kind of measure it, it's probably 1 MOA at 100 yards. I am really impressed with this. Then I switched over to these 55 grain Blitz Kings, and I had another grouping a little bit better, I would say at its widest point, 0.85 inches. That's sub MOA, really impressed. And then, and I remember, I think on camera I said I pulled one. I think I did pull this one a little bit left. When this thing did miss, I felt like it missed a little bit to the right, if anything, or a little bit high. I think this miss right here was 100% me. Then I shot another group, 55 grains. Look at this. I mean, we have two holes touching. If I measure this from the outside to inside, that's 0.59. This is almost a half-inch group, again at 100 yards. And I know it kind of depends on how you guys measure it. Some people measure from outside to outside and they deduct the bullet diameter. I kind of go from outside to inside because really you're supposed to be measuring from the center of the hole to center of the hole. And so no matter which way you kind of do this, I'm getting almost a half-inch group right here. Really impressed with this. And you know, is that the ammo, is that the gun? I think it's a good combination of both. Then what we did was we jumped into some suppressed stuff. This one impressed me the most. I wanted to go back to the 77 grains to see, you know, let's just get more data points, I guess. This first shot, 100% me. I may have pulled that one. That was me. I pulled it. I got a little bit excited. You know how that happens sometimes. That was my bad. This is 3 shots in here. It's crazy. If you, from the most outside to the most outside, that is 0.5 inches. If I go from outside to inside, we're talking a 0.35, maybe 0.4 inch group. If you don't include the one that I clearly pulled and I mentioned it on camera. That is wild. Then I came over here, I was shooting some more 55 grains. The best part about this is I threw on the suppressor as well, and that's what you have right here is you have 1, 2, 3 shots with suppressed. That's what the little S means. And then I have 3 shots without the suppressed. So the suppressor does lower my point of impact down by about an inch. It didn't throw it right or left, it just moved it down about an inch. I'm really happy with that. We had Reese shoot it. Reese, how was shooting it, dude? How did you like that?
I loved it, man. It was so easy to shoot. It felt like I'm shooting a 22.
Yeah, it felt smooth.
Yeah.
And especially when you're running it suppressed, it sounded like a 22. He's a good shooter, but you're still a really new shooter, I would say. That's a fair thing to say. You don't really shoot a lot in the prone position or behind an optic, like an actual scope. You kind of do like red dots, right? So he got on there, his first shot is right here. This was about a 1-inch group. And so from a very basic average mid-tier shooter, this is from someone who just learned how to not flinch when the rifle goes off. He is still shooting MOA. He did a good job. I was a little bit mad because we were just shooting like 1/2-inch groups. So then I wanted to shoot the same exact grain that you shot, just myself. And this was one of the most impressive groupings of the day after. I would say from the outer edge to outer edge, it is 0.5. That's great, a 1/2-inch group. They're all clover leafing. You can see this. This is nuts to me. This is what I would expect out of a bolt action rifle, running like hand loads. This is not what I expect out of a semi-automatic AR-15 rifle. I don't expect that. Go shoot this thing. I think what they kind of intended it for, more of like the run and gun, the drills, the normal AR-15. We're gonna run this thing and get it really hot. I had to kind of see how fast we can shoot these rounds out of it now with the trigger, with the bolt, and how they all kind of function together. I'm hoping that it feels just as good shooting it quickly as it does shooting it kind of spaced out in a more of a long range prone position. As you can see, they don't have a forward assist. Again, I've been shooting for a long time, not making videos for a long time, but shooting for a long time. I've never needed to use a forward assist, like ever. I get that in some applications, what you might want to do is instead of like racking your bolt all loud, maybe you do it kind of like slowly, and then it doesn't go all the way and you just kind of forward assist it in. That's where you kind of do that at. But who's really doing that stuff, you know? Did not come with the optic, does not come with the mag pull flip up sights, does not come with a suppressor obviously. But what it does come with is this stock. This is a BCM stock. I love this. A lot of guns out of the box have really crappy stocks and they have really crappy grips or handles right there. This is both BCM. I like it. Not the best, but for me, you don't have to go upgrade it immediately. Some guns, I literally, before I review it, I upgrade those parts. This one, I'm not going to. I like it, and it feels good, and it kind of feels like it belongs on this rifle. It's so slick. I wish you guys could feel what I feel. What I mean by that is that these guys, and this is not technical, so don't quote me, but these guys like basically make spaceships and stuff, like fighter jets. What they do is they take all their high-end machines and they started making guns with it. So this feels so smooth to the touch. It almost doesn't feel like a rifle because it feels too good to be a rifle. It feels very Gucci. It looks kind of Gucci too. I love all the designs they have into this. Sometimes when you buy a rifle, especially from like newer companies, they're very basic. It looks boring. They don't have all that cool detail artwork on it. This thing is full of it. So it looks good. 10 out of 10 on how it looks. And the side charger, I just love that. I don't know why I'm tweaking over it. It puts it, in my personal opinion, in the same league as like the SIG MCX Spears 308s or like the Scars. Those are the type of guns or brands that have the side chargers. Most AR-15s don't have that. And so what we call this is innovation. Their actual slogan is innovation in firearms. Out of the box, I always have a lot of beef with two specific things out of the box. Most rifles that are between like the $1,000 and $2,000 range, they don't come with a super nice trigger. They usually have what we would call mil-spec, which is kind of standard. It doesn't feel nice. You usually upgrade it pretty quickly, and there's no point in buying a $1,500 rifle or a $2,000 rifle and then immediately upgrading certain parts. So here, I guess it has a 4.5 pound trigger, but because it's nickel boron, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like it's a lot less. Shooting it, you know, in the prone position, I was thinking closer to like 3, maybe 3.5. That's just how it feels to me, especially compared to a normal mil-spec trigger. This thing is fantastic. Feel it. When you get a rifle in their hands, you can feel the innovation. And some of you guys may go saying silly things like, no, side chargers, they've been out for a long time, but not in the AR-15 platform, not really. And I don't know why you would ever want to charge it from the rear again, because, and you're going to see that when we're shooting and you have a failure or you want to reload or do anything, you have to come off your gun with, you know, no longer having your eyes down range with your optic, and then charge it, you know, from the back or whatever. And right now with the side charger, you can literally do it while you're aiming on target still. So if you have a failure, or if you have to reload and it didn't hold back, whatever reason, you can do that all right there. this rail, on top of it being sleek and kind of feels good and feels kind of sexy, to be honest, they don't have the M-lock at the normal like 3, 6, 9. They have this at the 2, 4, 6, 8 pattern. Normal rifle rail, see, you have they have like a weird design and all these things, but you basically can mount on top, on the bottom, left or right. And in a flashlight and you want it a little bit canted so it's not so far out this way, you know, for a sleeker profile, you can do that on this guy without having to buy more parts. Right there at the 2 o'clock. 2468, who do we appreciate? Gibbs Arms. Arms is actually who invented the M-lock, and then they sold it to Magpul. That's wild to me. So the same guys who invented M-lock, which everyone knows and uses today, this is their gun. That's why it's so cool. Things that this gun is lacking, I guess I should say lacking, is you don't have the forward assist, which I shot a lot of guns. I've never once had to use that before, but also there's no dust cover, which I think is kind of cool. It's kind of different, I guess. I've never used a dust cover. I know if maybe I was in Iraq or Desert Storm, you would definitely do that, but I'm in Arizona. We just don't have dust storms out here.
They're called haboobs.
We're gonna see if this thing works, I guess now. Let's, here we go. There's no way. I can't. What? Let's just keep going, I guess. There's just something about shooting steel. It makes me so happy inside. When you're shooting a gun like this on a steel target and you hear like that dinging sound, it's just like freedom to my ears. But what's more important than the steel plate that we're shooting at is actually these bases. I don't know if you can see this. A company called AR15 target stands. They make these unique bases. Look at these ones over here. And that way I can hold up, you know, my big steel plates, my small plates, fence posts. They have a whole bunch of cutouts. You know, they have like 2x2s, your 1x1s, your fence posts, your 2x4s. They have a whole bunch of cool stuff. So if you're shooting paper targets or steel plates, you can just buy this base and have a variety and make whatever combination you want. Obviously on this one, I have a combination with my big torso and then 2 side ones, right? On this one, I kind of have a little bit of a guy poking out over the shoulder from far away. It's like one of those hostage situations, you know? And so whenever I'm out here, I hate lifting heavy steel bases. These bases are perfect. And once the wood goes bad, you replace it. It's a really easy fix. So check them out. They don't even pay me to say that. This is just me saying I found a product, you guys might like this product. I will say, these guys are not paying me to make this video. They did, however, send me this rifle. It is mine to keep. You know, I guess you could say that's a form of payment. But honestly, what I do is I end up getting rid of a lot of these rifles to you guys. Free online website. It's called pewtraders.com. And a lot of my used rifles, they end up on that website for you guys to go look at and purchase. And it's free. Like, you guys can go check them out. I don't own it. It's just a random, like a Facebook marketplace kind of for just used or new firearms. If you guys, the OGs, if you guys ever used backpages.com before it got shut down by the FBI, that's like the same concept. It's a place where you guys can go check out new and used firearms, but not just firearms, but just accessories in general. So again, it's called pewtraders.com. This thing may be up there, who knows? So go check it out. And usually when I do list things, it's heavily discounted. I'll put a link in the bio so you guys know what I'm talking about though, but go check it out. 100% completely free. It's just a platform for us to kind of come together as a community.
You know, I don't shoot that often. I'm not super experienced, but my first rifle was a St. Victor. And I go, okay, crap, like there's other stuff that I have to upgrade. Where this, it feels like I don't need to upgrade anything really. I like the rail. It's super comfortable. It's super comfortable to hold. And I also like the side charging handle right here. Like when we're in the prone position, or even if I'm aiming down sight, you know, if I need to charge it, it's not in my face. I don't have to eat it, which is really, really nice. And it charges super smooth. I like the bolt release on the side. That's super awesome, super helpful. Love that. But yeah, I think just the functionality and the smoothness of it is what I absolutely love about this. Again, I'm not super experienced, but it feels like I am experienced when I am shooting this gun, because it just feels right, if that makes sense.
From what I know about pencil barrels or these things, they're very accurate kind of in the first few shots. I guess as long as you keep it cool and not overheated, these things are incredibly accurate. Once you start to mag dump it and it gets hotter and hotter and hotter, you start to lose a little bit of that accuracy. I did not notice that today out here. We shot this thing a lot. I mean, we went through a few hundred rounds within, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. I did not see that at all. I will say it did start to get a little bit hot down here in this base. That's pretty normal when you're shooting suppressed, but it did not affect the accuracy. It did not affect how it cycles. It didn't affect the functionality of it at all. I think this is a reliable, accurate rifle, and I really kind of like it. Usually I don't like lesser known brands. You guys know me. I'm a big SIG guy, a big Barrett, big Scar. I think this thing honestly competes with all those big brands, and I've never even really heard about them until today. Here are my kind of final thoughts about this gun out of the box after shooting it. We probably put a few hundred rounds downrange on day one. The only hiccup that I had that I was a little bit worried about was pretty early on in the day, I was using a 20 round Magpul magazine, and it had a really hard time not ejecting the round, but picking up a new round as the bullet would go back. And I thought maybe at first that would be the rifle's problem. It wasn't. That was 100%. That magazine has some scruff on it. It's had a hard time kind of catching the next round and putting it forward. So aside from that, it used other Magpul magazines just fine on the 30 rounders and the 10 rounders. And then we used a Lancer mag, right? We used the Lancer mag, and that had no problem. It actually comes with the Lancer mag out of the box. It does have some of this, this is BCM, right? It does come with a BCM stock and grip, which I like. A lot of guns in this price point, they kind of come with the cheapest parts you can possibly get. They didn't go cheap here. They didn't go super expensive, but they didn't go cheap by any means with the BCM. I like that. It's good enough that I will never have to upgrade this. And that's what I like, is buying a rifle, again, sub $2,000. I shouldn't have to go put more money into it afterwards. It does not come with any type of iron sights. And usually you're only going to be running iron sights if you have like a red dot on top of it. I feel like with how accurate and how lightweight this thing is, this is a really good hunting rifle, a coyote gun, varmint gun. So I want to be running at least like a 1x9 or a 3x9, and maybe I'll even use that Night Force on it, you know, the 2x20. So I'm not mad it does not come with iron sights. That would have been a cool little extra thing, but it did not do that. I will say the trigger, fantastic. For a mil-spec type trigger, awesome. You don't have to upgrade it. If you guys are picky about your triggers, you definitely can. I know they advertised it around 4 pounds. With the nickel the nickel boron coating, it felt like it was more like a 3 pound trigger. I think I mentioned that several times throughout the video as well. So trigger's good. The accessories are good. It feels so smooth in your hands. I wish you guys could somehow feel what I feel. It literally feels like it's super high-end quality. I think I said it earlier, but these guys actually make a lot of different stuff, including like satellites, and they do parts for like the F-35 jets that fly over our heads. They do all kinds of stuff. They have super high-grade machines that make beautiful parts. That's probably why this thing looks good, it feels good, and it flows so good internally, because of the way they machine it. I don't know what this thing is though. It looks like they just kind of cut that at an angle. It does kind of feel like it flows with the entire rifle, but some people, that might bug them. They might want a flush rail cap. I don't know. And for me, when I have this little bit of a gap, I don't like that. If it was me, I'd have maybe a 2-inch longer rail. As that way, as I do suppress it, it kind of goes all the way up to it. It looks kind of, it just flows well. This kind of gives it a weird, unique edge to it, which I do like, especially because you don't have your forward assist, you don't have your dust cover. With how they made their rail and just all the different ergonomics of this thing, it does kind of flow good. I like how it looks. So if you guys are into that kind of stuff, this is the gun for you. Does it actually lose functionality? No, nothing wrong with it, just design. And the last thing I will say, I think that helps the accuracy so much here. I don't know the science behind it. What I do know is when I was talking to them, and according to the website as well, when you put an optic on here, you no longer have to worry about centering it left to right. When you mount it, it's already going to be centered because they somehow make the barrel and the rail perfectly centered left to right. You don't have to worry about windage. That's what I hate sometimes. If I go put on a nice high-end optic onto a cheap AR-15, I feel like the rail is never perfectly aligned with the barrel. And in this case, it is. They somehow align that. It is a straight shooter. Now, obviously, you got to judge for your bullet weight and droppage and stuff. So you're gonna do your elevation like normal. But I hate when I put on like a red dot, especially, and you're like 3 or 4 inches off to the right or left because the rail's not centered. I love that the rail and the barrel are perfectly aligned. That is what I think makes this gun a little bit unique. Obviously, the side charging handle, I can't get enough of this. This is one of my favorite features. I think that every AR-15 needs this. It's hard when you start shooting an AR-15 with a side charging handle. It's hard to ever go back. What's Wally doing? Okay. So yeah, just because again, when you're behind it or when you're wanting to stay on target, I can use my offhand to chamber this thing to fix if it has a malfunction. Whatever I need to do, I have that ability. That's awesome. And on the website, they even sell these little enhancers, I guess I want to call that. Maybe they don't call it that. You can make the side charger handle a little bit bigger. It's kind of like a cap that goes on it. I think they use it for like their speed competition shooting. This is big enough and bulky enough that I don't hate it. A little bit bigger would be kind of cool, but at the same time, anything bigger, you run in with the problem of it sticking out too much. So kind of his preference, but they do have that as an option. This thing became one of my favorite rifles to shoot without ever being lubed up and with a whole bunch of dirt inside of it. And it still was competing with the highest end rifles that I own. So overall, 9.5 out of 10. I don't know what a perfect 10 would be, but for me, this 100% 9.5 out of 10. I would recommend buy if you have the money. If you have the money, buy this thing. If you don't, this is the gun that I think you save up for, and when you do buy it, you kind of leave it as is. You don't go have to swap out parts. I know I swap out my rails a lot, my grips, the stocks, charging handles. Like I'll upgrade all those things. You don't have to upgrade anything about this. You cry once, buy once, and you're done.